Ethan Cole walked into the office like it was any other day. No warning, no hint that his 12 years there were about to vanish in minutes. The company, a mid-sized tech firm outside Chicago, had always been stable, predictable, like a well-oiled machine. Ethan, 42, proud of his record, was the kind of man who stayed late to fix the things no one else understood. But that day, everything shifted. At the weekly meeting, Ryan Hale, the new vice president, stood before the team. Barely 30, hair slicked back, suit too sharp for the room. Effective immediately, he said, voice crisp like glass. We're eliminating outdated roles to streamline operations. His gaze swept across the room before landing on Ethan. Your position is no longer aligned with our strategic vision. The silence hit like a physical thing. Chairs creaked. People glanced at the floor. Ethan didn't move. He just stared at Ryan, this kid who thought arrogance was leadership. Ryan kept talking about agility and modernization, but Ethan wasn't listening. His mind replayed 12 years of quiet sacrifice, late nights, emergency fixes, the systems he'd built from scratch. Ryan motioned toward the door. We'll handle the transition internally. Ethan rose, calm, collected. He refused to give the man the drama he clearly wanted. Every step toward that exit felt slow, like walking underwater. He still had his office keys clipped to his belt. The same keys that unlocked servers, backups, and archives that half the company didn't even know existed. As he passed the conference table, he caught the eyes of younger analysts, the ones who once came to him for help. Now they looked away, faces full of awkward sympathy. Out in the parking lot, Ethan sat in his car for a long minute, staring at the keys. They felt heavier than metal, weighted with history and loyalty. Then he started the engine and drove off, not toward home, just away. He took the highway without thinking, the city fading behind him. The anger hadn't fully landed yet. It hovered, waiting. He wasn't angry about losing the job. He was angry about the disrespect. Ryan had turned his years of work into a prop for a speech. Ethan muttered, "You have no idea what you fired." He'd kept that company alive more times than anyone realized. Compliance deadlines, security breaches, network rebuilds at 3 a.m. And now, a kid with a trust fund haircut thought a PowerPoint deck could replace experience. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. A vendor call, his Monday sync meeting. Ethan let it ring. "Not my problem anymore," he said softly. The phone screen dimmed. 12 years of duty now belonged to someone else. But as he drove, he couldn't shake the sense that Ryan had no idea what he'd just unplugged. The systems Ethan designed were complicated, part code, part instinct. Without guidance, one wrong tweak could unravel everything. Eventually, Ethan pulled into an old diner he used to visit after night shifts. It still smelled like burnt toast and fryer oil. He ordered black coffee, sat alone by the window, and stared at his reflection in the glass. "Outdated role," he murmured, shaking his head. Back in his car, a folder sat on the passenger seat, paper copies of vendor contracts, network diagrams, contingency plans. Ryan didn't even know this documentation existed. Ethan opened it, flipping through pages covered with notes and passwords in his own handwriting. "You're in trouble, kid," he whispered with a bitter smile. Ethan scrolled through his contacts and tapped on one, Miles, a vendor rep he'd known for years. They used to grab beers after meetings, trade stories about impossible deadlines. "Miles," he greeted when the call connected. "Ethan." "Damn, man, heard what happened." Ethan chuckled softly. "Yeah, just checking in. Might be good to stay in touch." He kept it light. No revenge talk, no anger. Just a reminder that he was still around and still connected. The next morning, Ethan sat at his kitchen table, sipping yesterday's coffee. The folder lay open beside him, pages marked up like a map of old battles. He wasn't looking for anything specific, just letting the memories settle. Then his old work phone buzzed. He hadn't turned it off yet. The screen flashed a name that made him grin. Ryan Hale. Ethan answered casually. "Ethan speaking. Why the hell are your credentials still locking me out of vendor access?" Ryan barked. Ethan leaned back, amused. "You'd have to ask HR or security," he said evenly. "I'm not with the company anymore, remember?" Ryan hissed. You could have at least left instructions. Ethan paused, tone dry. I wasn't asked to. I was told to leave. Silence. Then the line went dead. Ethan smirked. There it is, he murmured. Panic phase. By late morning, Ethan's laptop began pinging with notifications. He still had guest access to a few internal Slack channels, Ryan's first mistake. Messages flooded in. Can anyone access the vendor drive? Why are credentials failing? Email down for anyone else? Ethan scrolled quietly, sipping his coffee. A few engineers tried to troubleshoot, but their fixes only made things worse. Ryan jumped into the thread mid-chaos, throwing random commands. Someone warned him to stop overriding admin panels. Ethan shook his head, half laughing. You're digging your own grave, Ryan. In his attempt to manually bypass system lockouts, Ryan had triggered a recursive sync loop. Within an hour, the email server crashed. Shared drives blinked out. Internal mail froze. The company went dark. Ethan hadn't touched a thing. He simply wasn't there to save them. Miles texted him that afternoon. They're freaking out. Nobody can get into the compliance portal. Ryan says he's on it. LOL. Ethan typed back. Let him handle it. By noon, Ryan called again. Ethan ignored it. The chaos was self-inflicted, and watching it unravel was oddly satisfying. For 12 years, he'd been the invisible hand keeping everything steady. Now, they'd see what happened without him. Wednesday morning, Ethan was on his porch with coffee when a message popped up from a friend in peril. Any chance you remember the login for the tax tool? Finance is melting down. Ethan smiled. The tax tool wasn't cloud-based. He'd built it years ago on a private legacy system. Only he knew the access. Good luck, he whispered. Ryan tried calling again. Then emailing. Then Slack messaging with urgent tags. Ethan ignored them all. He knew exactly what was happening. Ryan was scrambling, cycling through old contacts, shouting orders no one understood. The kid thought he could run the place with apps and interns. He was learning otherwise. That evening, Ethan received an unexpected email from Leah, a former analyst now at Titan Core, one of their top competitors. Her message was short but intriguing. Heard what happened. We're hiring someone with deep infrastructure experience. You came to mind. Interested in a conversation. Ethan smiled, leaning back. Maybe, he said aloud. But not yet. He wasn't done watching Ryan's empire burn itself out. The next morning, Ethan checked his Slack access again. Ryan had sent a company-wide email. We're experiencing temporary growing pains as part of our modernization efforts. Please remain patient while we streamline operations. Translation. Everything was on fire. Ethan chuckled. In the private channel, employees were roasting the message. Someone posted a meme of a dog sitting in a burning room. Another replied, streamlining operations? Nobody knows where compliance data lives. Ethan didn't join in. He just watched. Ryan's credibility was collapsing faster than the systems he'd broken. Every thread exposed how little he understood about the infrastructure he'd inherited. The company's heartbeat, the invisible network Ethan had built, was choking. By Friday morning, the first real disaster hit. Ethan was mid-run when his phone exploded with notifications. Urgent. Security audit failure. Regulatory review triggered. He stopped in his tracks, laughing out loud. Vection Tech, their biggest client, had just issued a formal notice. They'd missed a mandatory quarterly security check, the one Ethan had automated years ago. Ryan had canceled it as part of his streamlining. An hour later, Ethan's phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Ethan Cole speaking. Ethan, this is Diana, the CFO, came a tight voice. Listen, I know you're not with us anymore, but is there any chance you still have access to the old compliance records? We're in serious trouble. Ethan hesitated, then said evenly, Sorry, Diana. My access was revoked. You'll have to talk to Ryan. She exhaled sharply. Ryan doesn't even know what to ask for. Half the documentation references your protocols. Legal's tearing their hair out. Ethan took a sip of water. That's unfortunate. Wish I could help. Then he hung up. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the horizon, feeling the satisfaction settle in. 12 years of invisible work, finally seen, even if it was too late. By afternoon, the fire spread. Ryan tried to patch things together, but his emails leaked. Ethan's old colleagues forwarded screenshots, Ryan blaming legacy systems and non-compliant documentation. Everyone knew it was spin. Ethan didn't have to do anything. The truth was unraveling all on its own. That evening, Ethan got a call from Victor, an old consultant who'd done audits with them before. "You hearing what's happening over there?" Victor asked, chuckling. "Bits and pieces," Ethan replied. "Vection's out. They pulled the plug. The compliance structure collapsed. Ryan's losing it in every meeting." Ethan smiled. "Guess modernization didn't go as planned." "Think they'll survive it?" Victor asked. "No," Ethan said quietly. "Not this time." By the next morning, the announcement hit the news. Vection Tech terminates contracts over security failures. The firm's stock dropped. LinkedIn buzzed with commentary about reckless restructuring. Ryan's photo was everywhere, face pale, smile gone. Then came the final call. Unknown number again. "Mr. Cole," a woman's voice said formally. "This is Karen from the board. We need clarity on what went wrong." Ethan didn't hesitate. "That's a question for Ryan. He's in charge of operations now." Before she could reply, he ended the call. He'd waited years for accountability to catch up, and now it had. Minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, the name made him pause. Ryan Hale. He let it ring twice before answering. "Ethan." Ryan's voice cracked with stress. "You need to fix this. The board's furious. Vection's gone. Legal's losing it. Please. Just help me." Ethan kept his voice calm. "Sounds like things are going well." "This isn't funny," Ryan snapped. "You left holes everywhere. You didn't document anything." Ethan laughed softly. "Ryan, the board already called me. They're asking questions you were supposed to answer. If you weren't ready for the job, that's not my fault." Silence. Then Ryan softened, voice pleading. "Come on, Ethan. You cared about this place. Don't let it burn just to prove a point." "I did care," Ethan said. "Until the company stopped caring about me." Ryan sighed. "You're punishing everyone just to get back at me." "No," Ethan replied evenly. "I'm doing nothing. You fired me. You thought I didn't matter. Now you're finding out the truth. You think you're some kind of hero?" Ryan's voice trembled. "You left us in the dark." Ethan's tone stayed calm. "I left clean. You never asked for a transition. Never wanted a handover. You wanted a show, remember? That meeting was your spotlight." Ryan fell silent. Ethan continued. "You gambled with people's livelihoods just to look powerful. And now you're paying for it." Ryan's voice broke. "I didn't expect it to fall apart this fast." Ethan's answer was quiet. "That's the problem, Ryan. You didn't expect anything. You thought leadership was image, not responsibility." The younger man exhaled hard, sounding smaller. "So what now?" Ethan looked out the window. "Now you answer to the board, not me." He hung up before Ryan could respond. 2 minutes later, Ethan's inbox pinged. It was Leah from Titan Core again. This time, a formal offer. 6-month consulting contract. High pay, full control, and a bonus for stabilization. No interview, just respect. Ethan smiled. He didn't even need to think. He typed one word. Accepted. That evening, Ethan sat on his back porch as the sun went down, laptop open, reviewing Titan Core's infrastructure charts. They were messy but fixable. Work worth doing. His phone buzzed with a notification. Breaking, Ryan Hale resigns amid ongoing tech crisis. Ethan's lips curved in a small, satisfied smile. The article headline was brutal. Regulatory failure, client walkouts, board investigation. Ryan's face was plastered beside the text, tie loose, eyes hollow. The man who had strutted into the Monday meeting like a savior was now nothing more than a cautionary tale. Ethan closed the article slowly, leaning back in his chair. He thought of all the times he'd stayed late, unseen, saving the company quietly. No medals, no praise. Just duty. And how quickly that loyalty had been dismissed by arrogance. "You thought you could cut corners," Ethan murmured. "But the groundwork always matters." The next day, he received a short text from Leah. "Welcome aboard. Let's make it count." Ethan smiled. For the first time in months, the weight in his chest lifted. This wasn't just a new job, it was a chance to rebuild on his own terms. He poured another cup of coffee and watched the morning light spill across his desk. "This time," he whispered, "I build smarter." As he closed his laptop, the thought came clear and steady. He wasn't the one left behind anymore. He was the blueprint, the quiet force behind systems that outlasted arrogance. The man everyone turned to when the lights went out. Ethan Cole, once discarded, now indispensable. He exhaled, peaceful, satisfied. "What would you have done in Ethan's place?" the narrator asks. "Help, or let it burn?" Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of quiet revenge and poetic justice.